create a lab for me. And this AI does that. Then I say, in the same lab, add 3 routers and 2 switches. And this AI does that. And then I say, run OSPF on top of it. And AI does that. Ordered biryani from Meghna last Friday, and you rated it 4 star. Do you want the same biryani? It is not going to replace you, but I am telling you, use it so that you can be irreplaceable. In your simple language, you are going to tell the controller, build this network for me, and it is going to do that. Build this data center for me, and it is going to do that. And this will be the future of networking. So let's start our video and talk about future of computer networking. As you all know, mostly we understand concept using characters, right? And today we have characters named Anjali and Rahul. Both of them are network engineers and they are superb network engineers, right? And they are talking about their work. And Anjali is discussing something very interesting. She said that she has to deal with a lot of customer for which she creates network, right? And sometimes she has to reproduce the same network into her environment also. She has to build this lab to understand what is going on in customers network. And sometimes while learning also, for example, she want to learn SD-WAN, she needs to create this lab absolutely from scratch, right? And then Rahul is saying, yeah, that's good. Even I do that, right? So what is the problem? Anjali is saying, see, sometime it is okay, but my work involves a lot of lab creations, right? And it involves multiple steps. First thing first, I have to go into my EVNG server. By the way, if you do not know about EVNG, that is perfectly fine. This is the tool we use to create our topology, to simulate the topology, right? If you have heard about Packet Tracer or Cisco Modeling Lab or GNS, the tool is exactly same. See, even right now, Anjali is thinking about labs. So she has to work a lot on creating labs. And she's saying that then she has to drag and drop the routers and link them together. And once they are switched on, we have to configure IP addressing and whatever the protocol we want to configure, right? And mostly she has to deal with many technologies, and that is why she need to create again and again the same work of creating this topology first, right? Again, Rahul is saying that I do not understand the problem, right? This is what we do, right? Now, Anjali is saying that wouldn't it be good that if a chatbot or chat GPT or Claude can do all this ground up work for me? Rahul is saying, what is the meaning? The meaning is that if I say to Claude that create my lab, then add some routers to it, then basically add OSPF into it. And if it is done, if it's up and running, then I start my work. And Rahul is saying, don't you know that it is possible? And Anjali is saying, it is possible, but in your dreams. And Rahul is saying, no, Anjali, you are not taking me seriously. I have already done that, and that is how I am creating lab for my networks. And Anjali is saying, is it? If it is the case, can you show me a demo of it, right? Because I am not going to believe it. And Rahul is saying that if you had asked me the same thing 1 year back, it wouldn't be possible. But now there are so many things come into market with respect to AI, and through which we can exactly do what you are dreaming right now. But to understand that, you need to understand actually two things, right? So what I have a laptop, and on this laptop, I have installed an AI system, and this AI system name is Claude. By the way, if you do not know about Claude, that is perfectly fine. It is just like another chatbot, just like your ChatGPT, if you have heard about ChatGPT. So generally what we do on ChatGPT or Claude, we write and we give it something to do. For example, do something or do some research on SD-WAN and give me a final report of it. And it does. And how? Because it goes to internet, it search a lot of things on internet and create a beautiful report to you. And that is how these large language model like ChatGPT works, right? So Rahul is saying I have installed Claude on my network, and then I have an EVNG machine where I create my routers and switches, right? And Anjali is saying, what's new in that? I have a laptop, I have a chatbot, and I have a EVNG machine. And now Rahul is saying, here is the magic. I write on my laptop inside the cloud, create a lab for me. And this AI does that. Then I say, in the same lab, add 3 routers and 2 switches. And this AI does that. And then I say, run OSPF on top of it. And AI does that. Then I say, run BGP on top of it. And AI, this Claude, does that. And this is really, really interesting, Anjali. And Anjali is saying, this is amazing. And this is what I want. Can you please show me? Can you please give me the demonstration of this, because if this is the case, it would be saving a lot of time for me. And Anjali and Rahul is saying, yes, of course, I can show that. And here on the second board, I would like to showcase the demonstration done by Mr. Rahul, right? So what do we have here? As I mentioned, that I'm going to showcase my laptop where Claude is working, and then EVNG system. So here is the setup, very interesting setup and very simple setup too. On the left hand side where you see afternoon Vishnu, this is my Claude desktop machine. What is the meaning? The meaning is this is just as other chatbots like ChatGPT, we have installed Claude on my machine. Why Claude? I can give you many reasons, but maybe some later point of time. On the right hand side, if you see this graphical user interface or this Chrome, right? It is basically of my Eve NG machine. And right now you can see that I do not have any lab created, although I have two different folders created here, but I do not have any lab. So what I'm going to do here is I will be writing here, uh, please, although you do not need to write please, but let's see, please create a lab with, named as OSPF demo, right? Where to create the lab, I haven't mentioned anything, right? But let's see whether this Claude will figure out that it has to create this lab on this EVNG server. It is going to give me the output. Let's see what is going to happen. I'll create an OSPF demo lab in EVNG for you. It knows that it has to create the lab in EVNG, and it is saying, perfect, I have successfully created the lab OSPF demo in lab EVNG, lab in EVNG server, right? But here is no lab, right? I think we need to restart this UI, and you can see right here the OSPF is lab is built, right? Guys, what we just did, right? I just told Claude in my simple English language, create a lab, and it has created the lab. Now, if you see in this lab, there is going to be nothing, right? Because I haven't added any router, any switch inside it, right? So this is going to be my next step. So if I open this lab, it doesn't have anything, right? So let me close the lab, and let me write here, can you add 3 routers and 1 switch in the same lab, right? Once done, connect all the routers with the switch. And interesting thing is that I am not talking about any interface's name, right? Claude is intelligent enough to know which link to connect to which link, right? Then switch on all the devices. This is what Anjali has to do when she create all these labs, right? She has to run the routers, connect them together, switch on them, and then configure. But right now, I'm just adding some routers. So let's see what is going to happen. So right now, Claude is actually going into my EVNG server, and it has started creating this topology for me. So you can see here, I will build a topology with 3 routers and 1 switch, connect them all together and start the devices. And it is saying, excellent, I have successfully created your OSPF demo lab with the following setup: 3 routers, 1 switch, and connections. See the connections, guys, right? It has automatically figured out what to connect what. I have just given 3 routers, 1 switch, and I just told the Claude that basically connect all the 3 routers with this switch, and it has done that, but I haven't told it regarding the interface. It's very, very interesting. But let's see what is happening in this demo, right? If I open this, now you can see some routers and switches. If I can open it, then I see this is my router number 3, this is my router number 2, this is my router number 1, and this is my switch. All of them are connected. And if you are familiar with the EVNG, you must be wondering, Mr. Vishnu, why these clouds are here. Just consider them, these are connected together, right? This is how actually when you use APIs, if you don't understand APIs, don't worry, right? But consider this lab as R1, R2, R3, these are connected to a switch. Just forget about these cloud, right? This is behind the scene what happens when you connect a switch with the router, right? So overall, the interesting piece here is that we are successfully able to build it, right? And now it is saying that all devices are now powered on and booting up. But now I don't see the devices powered on and booting up, right? And the reason here is that Claude is using a different user to create this lab. For example, Claude is getting enter into admin as an admin and created all this thing. I can see the lab, but I cannot access or I cannot do anything on it if I logged in from any different account. Right now, I am logged in using Vishnu, right? So don't worry, I will be showcasing you this lab that it is switched on also, uh, but before that, I would like to configure OSPF also in this lab. right? So I have a command prompt. I'm saying configure OSPF on all these three routers. Once done, show me OSPF neighborship and routes. Along with this, create loopback interface also and advertise it into OSPF, right? So what I just want few loopbacks created on these routers, right? Then run OSPF and then advertise this routes, right? Advertise this loopback into my OSPF process. As simple as that, right? So let me do the enter and it is going to work, right? So it's going to take some time, but I think it is saying I will configure OSPF on all three routers, but you need to give me permission. And that is why I am giving this permission, allow, enter, right? Let's see what is going to happen now. So now you can see that very interesting output, right? It is saying that I will configure OSPF on all three routers, and then it is saying perfect. I have created, or perfect, OSPF has been successfully configured on all these three routers. It is showing me what are the IP addressing scheme it has used, which it has configured on R1, R2, and R3. What are the loopbacks it has advertised for me, right? OSPF area ID, process ID, then area, and then it is also showcasing me that, right, who are the neighbors of R1, who are the neighbors of R2. Of course, R1 neighbors is R2 and R3. R2's neighbors is 1111, which is R1 and R3, and R3's neighbor is R2 and R1. Right? It is showcasing me DR and BDR election results also. It is showcasing me OSPF routes also. Very interesting. But now you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, that this is what chatbot is showing. Show me the real result. Can you show the same thing on EvenG? And yes, absolutely, I can show you. I will be signing out from Vishnu account and I will be logging in with admin to showcase you that everything is up and working there also. So if I open this lab, see here, it is in up and running situation, R1, R2, and R3. Everything is up. If I open R1, right? So you can see that we have this R1. Let me, okay. So if you do show IP interface brief, you can see 192.168.123.1 is configured on 0/0, which is actually your first interface of this router. And of course, the loopback interface. If I do show run, no. I just want to see the specific config show run section OSPF. It is showcasing me what it has configured as OSPF, right? And then if I do show IP OSPF interface brief, what are the OSPF interfaces? And at last, I can show you the routes of OSPF. Show IP route OSPF on R1, and actually everything is there. I can ping 2.2.2.2.2, right? But the point is not this, that basically I am pinging, I am doing everything. The point is that Anjali's problem is solved, right? Anjali was so confused, right? That whether it is possible to do or not using chatbot, but it is 100% possible. And I have showcased the demo to you. I asked AI to create a lab. It created that lab for me. I asked AI to add routers and switches into it. It created that too. I asked AI to run OSPF on this router, and it did that. I asked AI to give me the OSPF neighbors and routes, and it gave me, right? How did it know where to create all these things? How did it know where to configure OSPF? And this is the beauty of this demonstration. Now Anjali is asking, how come on earth this is happening? And Rahul is saying this is very simple. And that is why Rahul is actually showing Anjali that what has just happened, right? How did it happen? So if you see here, we have three pieces involved here. We have our laptop, we have the server, and we have EvenG. So let's concentrate on first and second first, right? EvenG is the server where we are going to create the lab. Laptop is where we have installed the Claude or this AI, right? Generally, if I give something to this Claude will go onto the internet, search for many websites and give us the normal result. But if I say create a lab for me, it is going to say, are you mad or what? I do not know where to create the lab, right? And that is why I have created this server in the middle. What I do, I will write anything in the natural language, like create a lab, right? And before going on internet, the cloud system or this laptop will go and reach out to the server first, right? That can this server do the job for me? And here on this server, I have written many functions. What is the meaning of the functions? The meaning of function is just simple. When this Claude says create a lab, right? this server understand it, right? And this server has the reachability to my EVE-NG machine also. The server will convert this create lab into something which is known as API and sends those API to Eve, right? And Eve ng machine understand these APIs. API is just nothing but actually these are the commands you can say or which Eve understand. For example, if I say in my common language create lab, server will be converting this into the API which Eve ng understand, and Eve ng will get a message that I need to create a lab. Similarly, when I say from this chatbot, create 3 routers and 1 switch, the server will convert this request into API. API will understand, or the E will understand this API, and it will say, okay, I need to create 3 routers and 1 switch, then OSPF, then this. And this is how exactly things are working behind the scene. As simple as that, right? So only 3 pieces. Anjali is so amazed to see. Then Anjali wanted to know what exactly, Rahul, you have written on this server, how this server is so magical, right? Do other other network engineers know about it? And Rahul is saying, see, today everybody knows about it, right? Because this is just nothing but something which is all over the internet today and known as MCP, Model Context Protocol, right? If I give you an example, he's saying to Anjali that suppose we have a Zomato application, right? We all order food from Zomato, or maybe if you're outside India somewhere, you must be using your own application. And in that application, what we do, we just log in and we order and the food is delivered, right? But interestingly, we can do the same thing with our chat GPT. Means if we have installed chat GPT on our mobile, I can say order one biryani for me, right? And believe me, chat GPT can order the same biryani for you using this Zomato. Behind the scene, what Zomato is doing, Zomato has created an MCP server and it has uploaded it on internet so that everybody can access it, right? And I can configure my chatbot to use this server or MCP server, right? Which can eventually talk to Zomato. On one hand, this MCP server understands the normal language. On the other hand, it also understands Zomato application and the APIs we use, right? For example, if you say order one biryani for me, and MCP server will see everything in Zomato and see that you ordered biryani from Meghna last Friday and you rated it 4 star. Do you want the same biryani or shall I give you some other options too? Right? This is happening all over, right? This is not the new thing. What we have just done, what we have just did, instead of Zomato, we have Eve where we are going to create the lab. Instead of this server or MCP, we have this server. And then basically, instead of ChatGPT, we have Claude. As simple as that. And now the magic. What is the meaning of MCP? The meaning of MCP, Model Context Protocol, right? Generally, your Claude will go to the internet, but now, if I configure this server in Claude before going to internet, maybe it can ask this server to create your lab or whatever you want to do. And that is what it is doing right now. If you see here, we have this laptop. If we say anything to it, the server will be able to understand, right? It means that server understand the natural language and laptop also understand the natural language using the Claude or ChatGPT. But if they both understand the natural language, it means that something in between them. For example, if 2 routers want to communicate to each other, then we need OSPF protocol, right? As simple as that. And that is why if the server and this Claude machine wants to communicate with each other over a common protocol, this protocol is known as MCP, Model Context Protocol. It is everywhere over the internet, by the way, right? This is the whole soul thing which are working behind the scenes. So what I have done is I have written some code over this. By the way, I am not a developer, right? I have created some courses around automation, writing some scripts, but I am not a developer. I have done this project in just 4 or 5 hours. If I can do that, anybody can do that, right? And I haven't written even a single line of code myself, although I have used ChatGPT, I have used Claude to write all these instructions, but I haven't used any single line of code here, right? I haven't write, so sorry for that. And still I am able to deliver this solution, right? And it is very, very interesting. And this is the future of networking. And now Anjali is so impressed with it and she's thinking aloud and she's saying that, yes, indeed, this is the future of networking because I have think something very interesting. And now Anjali is saying we can extend the same idea. We all know that Cisco has created campus network using software defined networking approach, right? And they have a controller which communicate to all the devices in the campus network, and we know as this is as DNAC or Catalyst Center. You all know that, right? Then for managing and maintaining or creating the WAN network, we have vManage or SD-WAN solution. For data center, we have ACI and we have Epic, which can control all the data center devices, right? Wouldn't it be great if Cisco can create all these servers, right? The MCP server, which we were talking about in the previous board, right? Then we just need to install one chatbot, and this chatbot can communicate to multiple servers. I just need to say in Claude that I have to create a site of 50 people in my natural language, and it is going to create that site. I want to say that I have to create one another data center with these technologies, right? And it's going to create that. This is going to be the future, right? But now you must be wondering, Mr. Vishnu, this is going to be a problem for network engineers like us, right? Anybody can come, anybody can give these commands, or basically in simple language, and they can create the network. But I am telling you, right? Some jobs they are going to be replaced. There is no doubt about it, right? But see the time what we are going to save. For example, if we consider Anjali, every lab building activity, right? She lost maybe 45 minutes to 1 hour, right? And now in that 1 hour or maybe 5 hours, whatever she saved over a period of week, she can invest in something else, right? So basically, instead of doing the normal work, instead of doing the repeatable work, right, we can concentrate more on doing some innovative things. Okay. So it is not going to replace you, but I am telling you, use it so that you can be irreplaceable, right? In your simple language, you are going to tell the controller, build this network for me, and it is going to do that. Build this data center for me, and it is going to do that. And this will be the future of networking. See you in some other video. Bye for now.